What up, what up, what up? It's time for another special edition of the Ultimate 216 Show with your boy Earl Pearl. Let's get it. What's up, man? Good morning to you. I hope everybody is off to a wonderful and prosperous day. It's raining outside, man, but don't let that rain kill your joy. Me personally, I love the fall. Here to bring you another special morning edition of the Ultimate 216 Show. Here's what's going on with the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You're going to get another remote show today with Tyvis Powell, Dustin Fox, G. Bush, Mikey McNuggets on the production. So look out for that. Hope you're looking forward to it. We will be back in studio hopefully by the end of the week. Remember to like, subscribe, tell a friend about it. Drop that hashtag U216. Let me know where you are watching from as well. Today is my late father's 63rd birthday. Get into that a little bit later. Happy birthday, Pops. The Cleveland Guardians, man, clinched another playoff berth, clinched the AL Central Division title. And if you're somebody that's born in the late 80s like me, who grew up in Cleveland throughout the 90s when the Browns wasn't here and the Cavs sucked, you low-key feel like the Cleveland Guardians owe you a World Series title. We'll talk about that. But first, we're going to continue the conversation about the anemic Cleveland Browns offense and this so-called identity crisis that they might have. So yesterday during the show, Jason Lloyd said something that struck a nerve about Kevin Stefanski, the current system that's being played, etc. And I'm going to play that clip for you in a second. But it really made me think about this whole Deshaun Watson saga from the time that the Cleveland Browns traded for Deshaun Watson up until this current point, right? If you look on social media, if you just read the tea leaves and hear other people's opinions about why the Cleveland Browns offense is so bad, there are a large portion of people who believe the offensive line is bad, the system that's being run is bad, all because people are trying to appease Deshaun Watson. And when you pay that much money for a quarterback, you know, you probably should put that quarterback in the best situation to have success. But yet this Cleveland Browns team is not built to play that Deshaun Watson prefers to play. I'm going to play this clip from Jason, and I'm going to try to walk back this saga a little bit. But this was Jason Lloyd on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show yesterday talking about Kevin Stefanski and the system. Check this out.
I just think that they're forcing him to play a system, a style that this team is not suited for. I don't have the numbers in front of me, Mike. I don't know if you do or not about what I sent you last night.
The receiver numbers?
Yeah, basically the Browns receivers aren't fast enough and can't create separation. They're some of the slowest receivers as a whole.
You want the numbers? From The Athletic, True Media, and Next Gen Sports. But entering Sunday Night Football, the Browns had an average max route speed of 13.6 miles per hour, the third slowest of any receiver room in the NFL. On plays in which Watson has thrown the ball 20-plus yards downfield, they average a max speed on a route of 14.7 miles per hour. That's the slowest among any wide receiver group. On deep throws, they've averaged 2.8 yards of separation from the nearest defender on targets, 26th in the NFL entering Sunday Night Football, and they have a stat called receptions above expected, which measures the rate at which you catch tough passes. They combine a couple different factors, and entering Sunday Night Football, according to Next Gen Sports, the Panthers were the only wide receiver group across the league that had a worse receptions above expected average.
All right, now here's my initial thought to that, right? I immediately went back to the article that Jason Lloyd wrote after Deshaun Watson was, introduced to the media here in Cleveland. And he talked about the backstory of how we got to the point of Deshaun Watson becoming a quarterback. Now, of course, everybody knew that we were out the running. Jimmy Haslam offered at the time the largest contract in quarterback history or NFL history. Deshaun Watson signed on, blah, 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 blah. But the way Jason laid out the article of how the meeting took place, the part that stood out to me was the chemistry between Deshaun Watson and Kevin Stefanski, and how Deshaun Watson sat down with Kevin Stefanski. They went over some plays, and Deshaun Watson said that part of his decision to come to Cleveland was because, he loved Kevin Stefanski's ideas on offense, his style of offense, his play calling, etc. Now you fast forward to where we are now, and we're hearing all this stuff about, the Cleveland Browns having the slowest wide receiver position group in the entire NFL. how this offensive line is not built, from a blocking scheme standpoint to play to the strength of Deshaun Watson. And it made me think about that Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Berry. If you all were going to make this huge move and give up all those assets to trade for the player that you saw for 3 or 4 years in Houston when you traded for Deshaun Watson, then why didn't you do more than what you've done to this point to really mimic or duplicate, the weapons that he had in Houston? And then secondly, if you're Kevin Stefanski, and this is what Jason is saying is true, why would you as a coach sign up for that? Like, why would you as a coach sign up to be forced to do something that you really don't want to do from the higher ups? And it just made all these different thoughts come back to light to me about how we got to this point. When you look at what Deshaun Watson had from a wide receiver standpoint in Houston, notable wide receivers throughout his career there, he had Brandon Cooks, he had Will Fuller, and of course, he had one of the greatest wide receivers that we've ever seen, and DeAndre Hopkins. And so my mindset would be, okay, well, first, understand to this point, we have not gotten the player that once played for the Houston Texans. There's probably a 9 times out of 10 that, that version of Deshaun Watson is long gone. But the point I'm making is at said time, the reason why you traded for Deshaun Watson was because of all the work that he put in the city of Houston with the Houston Texans organization. And even with all the off the field baggage that came with him because of the football play, because of what he did on the football field, you felt like it was worth the risk. Okay, cool. But if you're going to give up 3 first-round picks, and if you're going to take on everything that comes with Deshaun Watson, the only return on investment that's going to appease the fan base, as that's going to kind of like calm the waters a little bit, is if the play on the football field matches what we've seen in Houston, and to this point, it has not. So why has that been the case? How did we get to the point of Deshaun Watson sitting down before he decided to accept the trade to the Cleveland Browns and liking every single thing that Kevin Stefanski ran to, we have a brand new offensive coordinator, a brand new running backs coach, a brand new offensive line coach, a brand new everything just about except for a wide receivers coach. You look at how this team is built. This team is not built to play to the style that Deshaun Watson played at in Houston. But if you were going to make that move, every move that you should have made after the fact should have been to build around that. If you have offensive linemen that's more suited for a vertical zone run scheme or power running scheme, etc., and not suited to really to play the style that Deshaun Watson wants to play, then at said time, you should have started turning over your roster to mimic whatever it is that you assumed that you were getting from Deshaun Watson when he was in Houston. And so from that aspect, from that point of view, it kind of feels like a little bit of everybody dropped the ball after acquiring Deshaun Watson. Clearly, the play from Deshaun Watson has not been to the point that we all expected it to be. And clearly, he has still had his struggles throughout this season. Not all of those struggles can be pointed directly back to him. We got some issues with the offensive line due to Nick Chubb being injured. We don't really have a running game at all. Our wide receivers, Amari, if you ask Tyvis, he looks like he's lost a step. Jerry Jeudy is a good wide receiver, serviceable, but he's not a game changer. And if you've seen the Giants game from last week, these dudes struggle to get separation. Now, you just seen the next gen stats, and I'll pull them up again about the wide receiver group. Entering Sunday Night Football, the Browns wide receivers averaged a max route speed of 13.6 miles per hour this season. Third slowest in the wide receiver room. You go back to the other one on plays which Deshaun Watson has thrown the ball 20 plus yards down the field. Browns wide receivers has averaged a max route of 14.7 miles per hour. That's the slowest among any wide receiver group on deep throws. You go down here, Browns wide receivers has averaged 2.8 yards of separation from the nearest defender on targets this season, 26 in the NFL entering Sunday night. And then finally, Next Gen Stats has a stat called receptions above expected, which measures the rate at which you catch tough passes entering Sunday Night Football. The Panthers are the only wide receiver group across the league worse than the Cleveland Browns. So that's what Deshaun Watson has to work with at wide receiver, right? You don't have the outside burner that you had Will Fuller. You don't have somebody that can, is an absolute game changer like DeAndre Hopkins was, and then a possession receiver or a guy that can actually stretch the field in Brandon Cooks. Now, the Browns have made some attempts, right? We all go back to the Anthony Schwartz move. Bad move, though. Third round, bad move. I just feel like at this point, when you made that type of investment to trade for Deshaun Watson, I think a little bit more could have been done based on what Jason said to make sure that this roster was equipped to play to the style that you would expect from the guy that you traded for based on what you've seen in Houston. Right? And it's just kind of crazy how we've gotten all the way here to, again, he sat down with Stefanski, and part of the reason, a large reason, was the money, the $230 million guarantee. Okay. And then you peel that layer back. He said out his own mouth, the relationship with Kevin Stefanski, the play calling, the system, things like that, things that were already in place before he got here. And now all of a sudden we see all this turnover. And from all accounts, Kevin Stefanski was forced to give up the system that he's always ran. And here comes John Dorsey with the system that he's implementing that he really can't even call the plays on. And so it seems like just a big bag of crap that's going on right now. Like, that doesn't do anything to settle the nerves of Cleveland Browns fans at all. Just looking at that entire situation, I want to know how frustrated does that make you when you look back to the trade for Deshaun Watson and everything the Cleveland Browns gave up. Like, it's a two-part question. If Kevin Stefanski is really being forced by the higher-ups to run a system that he really don't want to run, it's like, why did you sign off on this in the first place? And then secondly, do you feel like the Cleveland Browns should have done more from the start once they acquired Deshaun Watson to build this roster up to kind of like match his playing style? This Cleveland Browns team is built to run the football. Like, to me, like, we are a power run football team when all things are equal. If you look at how just the rosters have been built out since Kevin Stefanski has been the coach, we've had the likes of guys like Jarvis Landry. Of course, we got like Amari Cooper right now. Like, those dudes are not burners. Those dudes are more possession wide receiver type of cats, right? Nick Chubb has been the focal point and the best player on this offense. And we've seen Kevin Stefanski with quarterbacks that didn't necessarily have the cachet as Deshaun Watson. We've seen Stefanski with those type of quarterbacks have more success than what he had with Deshaun Watson. And it's almost like, instead of, sticking to your own guns and doing what works for you, doing what has, been your staple and clearly is what is impactful and effective for your football team, instead of sticking to those guns and sticking to those roots, I think the Cleveland Browns is a team that want to be cute and fancy like every other team in the NFL. You see a lot of 4 or 5 wide sets. You see a lot of motion offense. You see a lot of big 40, 50-yard plays downfield. And those teams, those organizations, yeah, they get that off and it looks cool on TV, but they're built for that type of offense. And it's almost like that the Cleveland Browns looked out and seen something that looked so damn pretty that they kind of ignored what they got going on and what's really been successful and working for them. And this is, to me, this is how we've gotten to this point. Now, this season still has to play out. We don't know what it's going to look like at the end. As I told you yesterday when I did that Ultimate 216 show, I think the Cleveland Browns have some issues internally that can be fixed throughout the season. And then they have another set of issues, man, that it's going to take some off-season work to get done. But I want to know what you all think about that. Y'all let me know. Like, when the Cleveland Browns traded for Deshaun Watson at said time, based on everything that they gave up, do you think that the Cleveland Browns should have did more to build a team that mimicked the Houston Texans once they made that move, if you expected to get the guy that you saw in Houston? And then secondly, do you believe what Jason is saying, that the higher-ups is forcing Kevin Stefanski to run something that he don't want to run? And if that's the case, then if you're Kevin Stefanski, why would you re-up to continue to be this team head coach if you really have no say-so in the system that you want to implement and the system that has always worked for you? Y'all drop y'all comments in the chat, man. I'll read through them, and I'll even respond to some of them. Let's move on. Don't forget, man, catch all the Ultimate spinoff shows right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show channel. This show, the Ultimate 216 show, the Ultimate Browns show, the Ultimate Cavs Show, the Ultimate Buckeyes Show, man. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell to stay notified every single time that we go live with those shows. So, big hand clap. Shout out to the Cleveland Guardians. I know they ain't really been getting a lot of love from the UCSS crew with all the football that's going on, but this is a baseball team, and it just clinched their 16th postseason appearance in their franchise's history, their 12th division title. I think this is their 14th playoff appearance since 1995. And, you know, we say a lot about this organization not really spending money, not really doing enough to put themselves over the top. And I think when we're in season talking about this Cleveland Guardians organization, we often get frustrated and say, you know what, this team is always just good enough to make the playoffs. They never really put together a roster that can actually go out here and win it all. And for the most part, I can honestly say that, you know, people have been right about that. But when you peel it back and you get to the end of the season and you're in mid-September, late September, right? And you're one of the few teams that's gearing up to go play October baseball, that's a damn good feeling. Even if you don't go out there and win the World Series, the fact that you qualified to go play October baseball in itself, like, that's an accomplishment. And if anybody has ever been to Progressive Field during the month of October when the Guardians is in the playoffs, man, that atmosphere down there is second to none. You know, we all understand that this is a Browns town, but when the Cleveland Guardians are playing playoff baseball, it's chef's kiss. It's second to none. You know, for me, I was born in 1987, okay? And I have seen pictures of me sitting on my grandfather's lap, you know, watching the Cleveland Browns towards the late 80s when, you know, there was a good team qualified for the playoffs every year. And, you know, you go early 90s, I don't really remember the Browns all that much. I can remember seeing them vaguely their final year in Cleveland. You fast forward, they're no longer here. And so as I started to form my sports fandom and, you know, just memorizing sports, the Cleveland Browns were not here. So I didn't have a local, you know, football team to cheer for. Fun fact, during that time period, I cheered for the Packers and I cheered for the Chiefs. Brett Favre was one of my favorite players. My cousin was actually drafted by the Green Bay Packers. The Chiefs, my favorite color is red. And I remember as a kid watching ESPN, watching the highlights, and I seen Andre Rison do the Spider-Man touchdown celebration. And Spider-Man was like one of my favorite cartoon characters. So it made it easy as a child to like the Chiefs. But back here at home, the Cavs was not good. But you know what we did have? We had the Cleveland Indians at the time. And the Cleveland Indians was a team that was selling out every single home game, every single year. They was a team that at one point in time, I can literally go through their starting lineup and name everybody that was in that lineup, right? My favorite player ever is Manny Ramirez. I've seen this team win so many games, but always fall short. You know, I go back to 1997, and the first time ever being allowed to stay up late on a school night when I was in elementary school to watch Game 7 of the World Series. I think about how excited I was in 2016 to kind of go downtown and try to duplicate that same energy that I had that June with the Cavaliers. I was preparing myself to go downtown after the Guardians beat the Cubs in Game 7 to celebrate a World Series win. And both situations led to disappointment. And I feel like for anybody that's around my age, I'm 36 years old, for anybody that's around my age group who has that similar fan experience of being born in the late 80s and growing up in the 90s without a football team and the Guardians being good or the Indians at the time being good, don't you low-key feel like they owe you a World Series championship? Probably more than the Cleveland Browns owe us a Super Bowl. Like, if you're around my age and you didn't experience 95, you didn't experience 97, you didn't experience 2016, and like you started to kind of get a little pissed off, your heart has been broken by that baseball team more than it has that football team because the football team has not been here that long. I kind of feel like they owe me a World Series. I don't know about you. I don't know if y'all matching my type of energy or nothing like that, but yeah, that's how I see it. And, you know, hopefully this is the year that they get it done. I think when you look at this 2024 squad, right, there was little to no expectation that this was going to be a good baseball team. A lot of the experts had this team finishing second or third in the division. Here locally, before the season started, there was not much excitement here. There was not much optimism here. We just kind of all took on the approach of like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Shane Bieber comes out, man, has 2 great stars, and then he's gone for the rest of the year. You don't get the picture that you thought you was going to get in Tristan McKenzie. He got sent down to the minors, hasn't been back up since then. The starting pitching that was once a true staple of this organization, it was not that solid. The only thing that was damn good was Emmanuel Clase. That bullpen was pretty damn good as well, but that starting unit, it wasn't all that. I feel like Stephen Vogt deserves so much credit for how much he got out of these young dudes this season, right? If you hear Jay Crawford talk about, his experience being a good year with this team before the season started, Stephen Vogt was the only person that was talking about, let's go win a World Series. And to me, I think the players fed off that energy. They fed off their skipper. This is a guy that's a former player that understands what it takes to win, a guy that, has seen a lot of baseball, seen a lot of ups and downs, and he got the best out of these dudes, right? He pulled something out of these dudes that even a great Tito Francona couldn't pull out of them. And so to me, I think he definitely deserves the AL Manager of the Year. And I think this is the one year where the Cleveland Guardians can really go out and go win the World Series. And I know that might sound far-fetched to some people when you look at all these other teams like the Yankees, who got all those power bats in their lineup. If you look at the, just other teams throughout baseball, right? The Philadelphia Phillies, right? The LA Dodgers, things like that. Like, might have to run into the Baltimore Orioles. All that's cool. But when you look at our team is gritty. Our team believes in themselves. Our team really, really believes that they can overcome any bit of adversity. And to me, I think this is a special unit, a special group, and a special year. The Guardians owe us all a World Series, and I think that this is the season that they might be able to go get that done. So y'all let me know what y'all think about that, man. Do you feel the same way I feel, that the Cleveland Guardians owe you a World Series title? I don't know. We'll see. Last segment, man. Don't forget, man, to subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Again, ring that bell and become a member for overtime as we drop exclusive content throughout the football season. Tell somebody about the Ultimate 216 show. If you have any show ideas, go ahead and follow me on X at Earl of Pearl 216. There you'll find my email address. Drop any show ideas, or if you're somebody locally in the city of Cleveland that's doing some charity work, got some events coming up, and you wanted to get it promoted, actually drop that in the email too, man. I'll definitely bring you on the show and show you some love. All right, so I've pretty much let y'all in a little bit on my personal life throughout time, and today would have been my late father's 63rd birthday. And I just wanted to take this minute to wish my father a happy heavenly birthday, to let him know how much he's loved, how much he's missed, and how much he's appreciated, and how much I thank you for every single lesson that you taught me throughout my life. I think that, as you grow through life as a young man, it's really, really hard to live up to the expectations that other people have set for you. And the best teachers in life can really only be your own experiences, right? And you kind of get the blueprint from your parents or whoever loves you or whoever's raising you as you journey throughout life until you get old enough to kind of experience things on your own. And this particular journey that I'm on now, being a part of sports media and really living out my dream, I didn't start this until after I was 30 years old. I think I was like 31, 32 when I went to school. And my father passed away when I was 30. And so he never really physically got to see this phase of my life. But you know what? I thank the man every day for all the tools that he's given me. Because if I'm being honest with myself and honest with the audience, I don't really feel like I started to become a grown man until I was about 30, 31 years old. And I know that sounds crazy, but like chronologically, as we get older, doesn't necessarily mean that our maturation is matching our chronological age. And so I just wanted to wish my father a happy heavenly birthday, tell you thank you. I hope that I'm making you proud, not because of what I do for a living, but because I'm finally using the tools that you've given me to be a grown man, to make sure that I keep the main thing, and don't get caught up in the minutia of this world. Stay focused, love on my family, and just keep God first above everything else. And so, Dad, happy birthday, man, from me to you. To the rest of you all, thank you for joining me, man, for another special episode of the Ultimate 216 Show, man. Don't forget, we got a remote show coming at you later on this morning. Tyvis Powell, Dustin Fox, Mikey McNuggets, and G. Bush, man. Till next time, y'all be great. Y'all spread love. Being great come with a price. Spreading love is priceless. I'm out of here.